Hello and welcome back, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Today we are going to be doing a rundown of Tinto Talk number 74, which details the Red Turban Rebellion situation in the upcoming game with the codename Project Caesar. Now, we covered quite a bit of China last week. This is going to be the continuing coverage, and this is where Yuan breaks down into Ming. You do have the option to play as Ming, and so it's going to be interesting tying or kind of going into this. We did play a little bit as Yuan when we had access to the game, and so we didn't break down, but this is going to be easy or interesting to see through. We did everything we could to try and avoid breaking down. I don't know if it was us being successful or we just hadn't popped up yet, but we were doing everything possible to decrease any sort of rebellions and this type of thing. So, without further ado, let's start and get into it. Hello and welcome to another edition of Happy Wednesday. Happy should be capitalized, it is a holiday. Also notably, we do have Roger, and now I fear Roger. So last week, if I recall correctly, was Roger, and the week before Pavia said he was going to be gone for a week. Now Pavia has been gone for more than a week, which suggests that Pavia is trapped in the trunk with Johan. So they're both now trapped in the trunk somewhere in Sitges, and Roger is giving us the Happy Wednesdays that aren't capitalized. Shame. Today we will continue our Chinese flavor with a look at the Red Turban Rebellion situation, as well as the crisis of the Chinese dynasty disaster. We do love our alliterations, dynasty disaster. The Red Turban Rebellion is a very turbulent time, isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it? Look at discipline from Roger to not put this in italics. That historically brought the fall of Yuan dynasty and the rise of the Ming dynasty. In the game, the situation could start after 1350 if Yuan has low stability, so this might be how we avoided this. We did, specifically use cabinet action to increase stab, maximum spending on stab, low legitimacy, the commoners, the state satisfaction, low satisfaction, and the other two states have, at least two other states have low satisfaction. So we just dodged it by playing away from this type of thing. Or if they have arrested Han Shandong. Oh, I don't think we popped that event, so maybe we would have got it. As such, it is very difficult for Yuan to avoid it. Once it starts, the following event will fire. The Red Turban Rebellions, unlike the Yellow Turban Rebellions, that was a different rebellion. In 1328, the state of Yuan saw a grand factional conflict between supporters of the Mongolian lords and a group of Chinese-based Confucianism, following which it ended in the victory for Borjin Torgun Timur Huangdi. However, this was just the seed that led the foundation for the storm to come. Lack of security and faith in the emperor, as well as harsh taxation, loss of stability in the state, natural disasters have left the Yuan subjects outraged at the emperor. An Eastern Buddhist monk, Peng Ying Yi, I forget how to pronounce just the open Y, has gathered those who oppose the dynasty's way of treating the Chinese. Thus, the Red Turban Rebellions start. So just a minor uprising. Yeah, minor. The Red Turban Rebellion starts. For the next 20 years, Yuan will face warlords breaking free from the state. To resolve the situation, every warlord needs to either be reconquered or bribed to be a loyalist to Yuan. Additionally, 90 legitimacy, 30 stab, and 50 celestial authority are required to end the situation. In general, we have seen, I think you get a penalty to stab as well. We have seen AI Yuan really struggle to stab up, so I think that there's part of what's going on, and I think that they just don't utilize the tools. Also, they're supposed to break apart anyways, so they're not supposed to be able to successfully recover it. I don't think I've seen them recover it once, though, out of now probably over a dozen runs, or less than a dozen, something like this. And so we haven't seen it once, but I think that if you are playing as Yuan, using cabinet actions to stab up are going to be something you want to be doing. We have the Red Turban Rebellion modifier, -5 estate satisfaction equilibrium. That is painful. That is going to increase revs. Estate satisfaction, for every estate satisfaction you get, or negative, all pops that are part of that estate will get -2 satisfaction, relatively speaking. So this is -10 satisfaction on all your pops, and if your pops satisfaction drips below a certain level, you will be getting rebellions. And so once the rebels pop, then they are breakaway states, as far as I understand the mechanics of this situation, which, again, we haven't procced ourselves and played the side of it. Minus 20% efficiency of cabinet is pretty painful. There's the minus 0.1 stab investment. That is a very large penalty to stab, and that's why the AI is like really can't just stab up, because you have to throw everything at the stab to kind of recover this. Minus 45% levy size. Notably, China's really big. Hard to have a lot of control everywhere. You also get a penalty to levies based on how much control you lack, and I believe this is additive. And so any place that has under 45 control, you just won't be able to bring levies out from, right? And so this is really, really... you could have some positive levy modifiers in a few spots as well that will maybe get you to be able to bring out some levies, but this combined with lack of control all over the place will really make it so if you don't have control in the area, you're going to get no levies from them, instead of getting like some amount of levies or something like this. Monthly rebel growth minus 5%, mercenary size minus 75%. Okay, as you can see here, getting the rebellions will bring about even more problems and penalties for Yuan. Additionally, while this situation is ongoing, some events will be firing, making historical rebels appear, each event with an extra option to allow the player to switch and continue playing as the newly created rebel country. Both of options of the events do the same, the only difference is the extra effect of switching to a playable country. So, I think that usually we see Wu be successful, switching to Wu, with the idea of forming Ming is definitely a way you can play China. It's going to be a way a lot of people play China, I assume. I don't know if they're going to have really rewards for staying Mongol, and being Mongol and leading a bunch of Chinese people was maybe not the right way of approaching things. Of course, Yuan does get the plus 50, cultural capacity, which allows them to deal with the fact that they are leading the wrong culture. Okay, but here we have the Song Rebellion. I believe it was the Song dynasty that preceded the Yuan. Although persecuted by our governing authorities, Peng Yi managed to flee his deserved execution and spread the teachings in further parts of our lands, eventually reaching the rural settlement of Bozhou, Han Shan Tong, and his advisor Liu Futong. They were both inspired by the monk and gathered disgruntled peasants around them. I think I heard an ambulance, but not for us. It's coming for Yuan. Those rebels now proclaim the end of the Yuan dynasty and call themselves the Song dynasty, the predecessors to the current Mongolian rule over China. And so here we will get release the warring state of Song, and so not much to be done there. So you're not actually popping rebels, I suppose, actually, yourself with this. You're just instead getting rebel pop events. Interesting way to approach it. It certainly comports with what we've seen, because we see regional powers pop up, and then they eventually consolidate. And so we lose 12 stab. Yikes, because we're trying to get above 30 stab, right? If we have repeated events that are crushing our stab, it's really going to be quite difficult. We will declare Reigning Rebels war on Song. We will continue playing a Song, or you can choose which one you want to do. Decrease allegiance to Yuan by 100, lose 200 opinion, so we can increase allegiance in order to, I think if it's over 50, then they flip to our side. Raises all army levies near instantly. Song becomes the leader of the Red Turban Rebellions. Liu Futong moves to the Kingdom of the Song. So I guess that's the first one, and here we have the Wu Rebellion. Now, Wu is the power that we generally see consolidate. They rage through China. Both bold warlords declare themselves as heirs to past dynasties, starting open revolts and challenging the Yuan dynasty. Among those rebels who see an opportunity in our waning grasp is Xian Zhizhen, and 18 of his followers fled to Gaoyu and have turned to banditry. Within a few weeks, he has recruited thousands more bandits and has declared himself the foundation of Wu, which is going to be in the southeast, if I recall correctly. And here we see Ming. Okay, never mind. I thought we've seen, like, Wu become Ming. Okay. Zhu Yuan Zhang, a former mendicant monk who saw the horrors of the Red Turban Rebellions firsthand, joined King Guo Jijin and his troops under the monastery when his monastery had been burned down by the Yuan raiders. Under King Guo Jijin's command, Zhu Yuan Zhang has proven himself to be a competent military advisor and has earned the hand of Ma Jiu I don't know how to pronounce that, King Guozhijin's adopted daughter. The achievements of him have eventually gained him over an own battalion of troops. The successful capture of Nanjing and the surrounding countryside allows him to declare the formation of Ming, a trusted ally of Guo. Okay. Interesting. Maybe they just unify sometime later. Some warlords may take the side of the emperor, though, if allowed. Not all Chinese are emperors of the Yuan. Ding Liu, or Lu Yu, Jiang, a devoted loyalist to Borjin Torgan Timur Huangdi, and the general of the Yuan forces, led his troops to Nanping to establish autonomous warring states and spearhead a counteroffensive against the Red Turban rebels. And so, considering the massive penalty you're getting towards levies, right, from the malice, and then just from not having control in an area, it's definitely preferable to have a subject that is loyal to you having lands that aren't controlled and next to your power base and this type of thing in terms of being able to fight off enemies. Finally, a loyalist with initiativeness. You don't see that word too often, initiativeness. Release warring states in Nanping. Up to 8 of our most competent characters of the Fuzhou culture move to Nanping, and then they get increased allegiance to Yuan 75. And so they will join on the side of Yuan and be helpful in that, they will allow a lot more troops on your side. And then here we see that this would gain a stab. Well, if you eventually recover all the way and you just reintegrate everyone, then releasing as many people as possible to get stabbed through these events is going to be ideal. We see the Kok Timur loyalists. I think this is one of the biggest loyalists that we've seen kind of commonly be able to hold out for a long time. But we will have a bunch of options. With all the rebels, China will be quite fractured. There is the loyalist here. This is the common one that we see. We see Wu right here in very, very rich territory. And we see all of these different, parties that are certainly partying, and by partying I mean rebelling against their overlord. Oh, we have Dongguan and Nanping do look like loyalists as well, because they do not have the red outline, so very nice. And then here you could see it's a bunch of different wars. There's definitely a war in China, that's true. Besides the historical ones, there's also the option of generic cultural rebellions happening, as well as many other events that can fire during the situation, including some representing the loss of authority over the farthest territories, like Manchuria breaking away, which is very nice if you want to play as Korea, which we played several times through, and so this is quite nice because you do get independence. The Red Turban Rebellion affects not only the entirety of the core regions of the Yuan, but also the fringe areas of the dynasty, or dynasty, who knows. Most notably are our distant lands in Manchuria, which have been conquered by our predecessors. While normally under our control, due to the boiling conflict in our heartland, there's nobody who can enforce our rule over Manchuria, making it abandoned in effect. We lose control over Tibet as well. Tibet, incidentally, seems like the worst place to play possible because mountains are so bad in terms of a terrain type, and so it just looks very rough. I think it's mountain and Arctic, so it's the worst climate. And Arctic is for the most part, climates don't make a huge difference. Mediterranean's a bit better than the rest, but it's not massive, except for Arctic is really bad, and the most standout from all the other terrains is mountain in terms of being bad. And so the only thing that could be worse is if there was forests. I'm not sure if there's forests on top of in Tibet. I can't remember the terrain regarding the vegetation, but it's pretty bad. Is it forests or woods? I think it's forests. The forests are the more densely vegetated ones. The chaos caused by the Red Turban Rebellion led to the decline of our bureaucracy in unforeseen ways. Tibet, a core region of the Yuan, refuses to acknowledge our influence and control and is now virtually independent from our grasp. Hey, we freed Tibet. Okay. Let's look at the situation panel, and we can see which actions the Emperor and rebels can take. We can grant titles. I assume this is to try and gain loyalty. I'm guessing this costs us something like legitimacy. We can appease the court. Not sure what this will cost. We can see that we are much weaker. Womp womp. Or we're much stronger because we're King Zhu Yuan Zhang, and we decided to play as Ming. Okay, as you can see, the panel shows the current most powerful warlord as well as all the other countries and their allegiances. We can also see here the actions available to the emperor. We can select for Kok Timur. I don't know how to pronounce that exactly, where we will lose one diplomat, we will transfer money to him, and then his allegiance will increase. So you can play it in a couple of ways. These guys are traditionally loyalists. Negotiate with the rebels. The target rebels lose 25% progress. Interesting. That doesn't seem that expensive, but that's almost certainly something that scales with your tax base. Incidentally, it's interesting, a lot of things scale with your tax base, and so when you evaluate the cost of stuff, or when you evaluate income that's not from taxes is effectively more valuable, because that income doesn't increase all the things, all the expenses that scale with tax base. We can call loyalists to arms. The selecting war state, which is loyal towards Yuan, will join in the Red Turban's wars on our side. This will cost us Celestial Authority. I do believe we needed over 50 to end the situation, so this is a resource that we're using, and the Loyalist loses 5 allegiance, so you'll have to make sure you have at least some allegiance there. We can appease the court. We will gain 7 stab, all of our states gain 5 satisfaction, and I assume we're gaining this malice to appease the court, or it's the fact that it costs this amount of gold is going to be the cost. But it's very nice to have a money button that you can press to stab up. Being able to gain stab is really, really nice. Stab is, I think, very important in the early game. Let's take a look at the actions available to warlords, both rebels and loyalists, which are different. Let's take a look at the first, or let's take a look at the ones for rebels. Rekindle revolt, reign in area, or declare war for regional supremacy. Rekindle the revolt. Yuan will declare a reign in rebels war on Ming. Huh? Okay, so this is if we're somehow not at war, so we became disloyal. And then, or we were loyal, we got pieced out, and then we became disloyal, and so we're starting over. We have a reign in area. China is a land with little population. Is no land with little population. I do not like the way that sentence is structured. China is no land with little population. I'm pretty sure some areas of China actually do have little population, but there's a ton of... Anyways, by reigning in the areas we conquer from our enemies, we can secure the loyalty from the locals and support for future expansions during these revolting times. Ming adds the aerial reign to a conquered area, and its locations get integrated. I wonder what this aerial reign modifier is going to be, but the fact that you instantly integrate, that's going to be key or very important, because otherwise that is so much territory to integrate. So it's going to be nice that when you're playing as a warlord, you can integrate stuff. Okay, we can see it gives plus 15 max control and a bunch of negative separatism, so that's going to completely kill, like, the separatism malice, I do believe, that you have when you're just integrated rather than being cored. And maximum control, that's a very nice modifier. This is effectively like turning integrated territory into a core. You aren't turning it into a core, but then if you turn it into a core on top of this, then that's like plus 15 control. That's quite nice. We get declare war for regional supremacy. The Red Turban Rebellion is not a revolt against the oppression of the current dynasty, but also a power struggle for the Celestial Throne itself. We must not allow any of these pretenders to gain the power to claim the mandate for themselves, and I'm guessing this allows us to deck on another warring state, which is neither ally nor subject, and is not a truce with us. So we're declaring on ones that are either neutral or are supporting Yuan. And now the actions of the loyalists. We have support faction, join Yuan defense, and declare independence. Support faction, we will transfer 1 year's worth of ducats to the country of the Red Turban Rebellion in exchange for plus 50 opinion to target country of the Red Turban Rebellion. So we will support someone on the other side. We will join Yuan defense, and so we will join and piggyback on one of their wars. I assume that's how this works. And we will declare independence. The Great Yuan is facing one of its greatest crises. While a tragedy for Borjin Torgun Timur Huangdi, it is an excellent opportunity for us to break the shackles bounding us to the Mongolian overlord. And we will leave the rebellions. I wonder why there's so many of these. Is that because that's how many wars there are? That might be because that's how many wars there are. And we will gain 7 stab and get an independence war. Oh, this is the wars that we have against the rebels. When we declare independence, we exit all of those wars because we're throwing off the shack. Okay, I get it. I understand. The situation can be ended in 3 ways possible. A victory for Yuan, a victory for the rebels, or a stalemate. We've seen a lot of stalling out. For Yuan to win this in their favor, besides the obvious defeating of all the rebel countries, they need to raise their stability, legitimacy, and celestial authority. For the rebels to win, we have actually seen I've seen Yuan, like, get it so that, like, no one, if I recall correctly, that no one was rebellious, but then they just couldn't stab up to end the thing. For the rebels to win, they need a majority of China under the banner of a single country or their subjects, or have destroyed the Middle Kingdom International Organization. If none of these conditions is fulfilled by the end of the Age of Discovery, the situation will end, and a stronger rebel will claim emperorship in the case that Yuan has been destroyed. So if it's a warring states between the remaining rebels. But that's just in the case Yuan gets destroyed? If Yuan doesn't get destroyed, maybe it continues. In case Yuan is the winner, they will receive the following event. Yuan persists. The Red Turban Rebellion has finally found its end. Although a brutal civil war, the forces of the Red Turban rebels could not break Yuan at last. The last remnants of the rebels are hunted down by Mongolian raiders, while Dear Borjigin works on the restoration of the authority of the Mandate of Heaven. And we will get this event here. The situation ends. All countries with the warring government reform who are loyal, either equal to 50 or more allegiance with Yuan, will be annexed by Yuan. So you reintegrate them anyways, and so having them be released to be a better fighting force is probably worth it. We will lose the effect of the Red Turban Rebellions, that really nasty penalties, and we will gain 100 prestige, 50 stab, since we have to be at 30 stab to end it anyways, so that's plus 80 stab. We'll be at 80 stab, and then we will gain 50 legitimacy. And every location in all of this, China, knows that you're here. No, it will become a core. Yuan will gain the unified China casus belli against every independent country in all these areas. The Middle Kingdom gains 20 celestial authority. And then this is the event that will fire in case of a rebel victory, the rise of Ming here, and they will assume the power of the Middle Kingdom here. And they will get, the situation ends, they will remove the warring state government reform. I'm not sure if we got to take a look at that. And they will become the new leader of the Middle Kingdom, and we will gain the same benefits. Also a country becoming empire, which is a big deal. And we will see Great Ming, which is different than Great Yuan. I assume we also get claims on all this. Maybe not. And now let's take a look at another set of troubles that can happen to China if they are not careful. A crisis of the Chinese dynasty disaster. The dynastic disaster can happen to any of the ruling China, and therefore localization will be slightly different. Chinese dynasty is just generic name we will use to talk about it, not the in-game one, as you may see. So if it's Mongolian, will it not be Chinese? I suppose not. Anytime outside the Red Turban Rebellion situation is active, in which the leader of the Middle Kingdom has low celestial authority and either low stability or low legitimacy, the disaster could start. When it does, the following event will fire, crumbling the authority of the Yuan dynasty. We will face a crisis. We have failed to rule in accordance with the Mandate of Heaven, the truth hurts, and have lost the blessing and good fame that the Mandate affords. Mismanagement and strife are rampant in China, and discontent is spreading rapidly among the people. Already great masses have risen in revolt. We must think of our ancestors and strive to cultivate virtue, for the great mandate is not easy to keep. That is true. Once it's active, the country will receive some penalizing effects, and they will need to reform their structure to avoid collapse. We will see war exhaustion. Ugh. If we get a base rate, like you're ticked down, but if you're at peace, you do have some ticking down, so I don't know if this is constantly increasing your war exhaustion over that. Monthly inflation, yikes. Monthly rebel growth, I think that's actually a pretty big chunk of rebel growth, and monthly celestial dynasty change, so it'll be harder to recover this, and I assume that we have to get high celestial authority to get out of here. We will see the crisis of Great Yuan. We can see our celestial authority here, and we can negotiate with the rebels, we can reform the cabinet, we can revise the tax code, we can restore stability in the dynasty, and we can strengthen the throne. As you can see, there's some action in the country to deal with the issues. Let's take a look at them in detail. Starting with negotiate with rebels is the only action not required in order to end the disaster, but is a useful tool to counteract the rising rebels. So we have to reform everything. We have to fix everything in China, where we will select commoners insurgents, and let's see what we will get. They will demand control reduction across their lands and push us towards free subjects. Free subjects seems fine enough in terms of values, so that's not too bad. Estate rebels, they demand tax reductions and privileges, and religious rebels, they will demand religious concessions and push us towards humanists. I suppose... so reducing tax on the commoners is actually going to be pretty good for increasing satisfaction in an area, but it won't deal with the individual rebel groups themselves, because they're not... It's not locations that's rebels, it's pops within a location. So even if you please the location overall, okay, interesting. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll avoid rebels. We can see that we will negotiate with them. We could see recent developments have led to the movement of the commoners insurgents gaining much traction, forcing us to the negotiation table. We can see this will lose celestial authority. We will get concessions for 3 years. Pops that support the commoners insurgents will gain plus 25 pop satisfaction and likely shift their allegiance back to us. That is quite a lot of satisfaction, and the mechanic through which rebels happen is if they get below a certain satisfaction threshold. So by increasing satisfaction, you're likely to make them not rebellious anymore. Looking at the actions that what the country will have to perform to end the disaster. Reform the cabinet will be available if the country has all the states satisfied. They have high crown power or are employing at least 3 very capable cabinet members. Now, how high is high crown power? Or are employing at least 3. Yeah, so you can get like 30 crown power early on, at like kind of the top end of what like feels okay, but like getting like 50 crown power is really difficult in the early game. But we can see that we have to have all of them have high satisfaction. Crown power is greater than 50. That's going to be a problem. That's going to be a big problem. So at least one of these. Oh, okay. I have 250 total abilities. At least one of these 3. I thought it was this and one of this or this. So that's going to be, you just tax people a lot less and give away a bunch of estate privileges, and you should have an easy time getting everyone to have over 60 satisfaction. So that's not too bad. That looks cheap for 79. Revise the tax code is special in that to be able to perform it, you must have first done a specific cabinet action. Okay. We will lose 5 inflation. Wow. So that means you could just print with the mint and then go to town, get 5 inflation, and then lose it. That seems kind of strong. We see the cabinet action requires administrative ability. When implemented, we will gain this for 5 years, or we will get tax reformation attempts for 5 years. Decaying modifier. When it is complete, we will get the tax reform happening to us. And this will also give us ongoing, when we are going after it, celestial authority, I suppose. And the attempts give us minus 10 satisfaction, estate satisfaction equilibrium. That is a lot. So that's going to be minus 20 satisfaction on all of your pops as well. Unless they're over 100 or below 0. That's quite painful. We also get 15%, or sorry. And then, as you can see, the cabinet action will be a bit painful when being performed, but once finished, these are the results. Okay, so this is the cabinet action, and then it finishes, and then we wait 5 years, and then it's a decaying modifier. Okay, that's not too bad. If it's decaying, that's not as bad as well. Tax efficiency plus 15% is fantastic, though. To be able to perform the restore stability in the dynasty, we will first have to raise the stability of the country. We need at least 50 stab. That is a lot of stab, but if we have help from a lot of events, which it seems like there's a lot of events that get us plus 7 stab, that's maybe not too hard, but 50 is a lot. But I suppose it's supposed to be a lot, right? And we will gain some celestial authority and legitimacy, but it's just another box we need to check. Finally, to perform strengthen the throne, we will need to raise legitimacy. Legitimacy is really easy to get high, and so we need to have a greater than 90 legitimacy, and it'll give us 7 stabs. So this is like what we're talking about. The more of these plus stab events we have, the easier we can get along, basically, and do the second one. All these actions can be performed in whatever order you want, or can, but as you can see, they all help out each other a bit. Yeah, like getting the stab for the stab. Once the country has performed them, they will manage to successfully avoid the crisis and the disaster will end. We will, of course, become favored by the heavens once more. The period of instability is over. For those who once conspired our demise and found joy in our fall, now flee back into the shadows from whence they came. Go back to the shadow. They said, you shall not pass. And then they fell through fire and water. Yeah. The times of troubles have forged our people to be hardened and survive even the divine challenges. A smile while watching the sunset, greeting the next day with the same hunger that once placed us on top of a great dynasty. We have survived. And that's all for today. Is it though? Is it? Yeah, it is. But where's Pavia? That's the real question. I could have sworn he said he would be gone for a week, but that might just be my brain. He just said he was going on vacation. And then I insisted that it was a week because it's funnier to insist it, and now I'm just remembering insisting that it was a week. That actually might be it. Putting an end to this Chinese block. Shout out to block printing. Chinese invented it, if I recall correctly. Join us Friday when we continue with Tinto flavor about Ayutthaya, Daviet, and Kumai, which of course is Southeast Asian, and of course wishlist Europa Universalis 5, but everyone knows this is just an anagram. Its rivals pursue a vain love is the true name of the game. That actually, as a name, some of these anagrams are really absurd, but rivals pursue a vain love, or was it? I forget the one, but that one went hard. But you could wishlist, and they of course want you to wishlist because this helps out the studio from their perspective, because it's a nice metric that they can take back to corporate. Corporate needs to tell the difference between these two pictures. It's the people who wishlist and are going to buy the game, and the people who don't wishlist and they're going to buy the game, and it's the same picture. Okay, except for corporate it's not. But that is our finale, or our finishing of looking at China. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Do the YouTube algorithm thing. And other than that, have a happy Wednesday.